Montessori, from Montessori schools to CHCH. We have a great group of panelists with us this evening, and I'm just going to give families a couple minutes just to log in and get ready before I begin. And as attendees begin showing up, if you want to put in the chat box where you're joining us from, that would be great, just so we have a sense of where you currently are coming from. All right. Welcome, everyone. All right. We're expecting a couple more. All right. Oh, welcome from Acton. Great. All right. I think we'll get started. All right. Jamaica Plain, Woburn, Newton. Great. Awesome. All right. So again, my name is Lisa Pelrine, Director of Enrollment Management. I just want to remind everyone attending this session this evening that we will be recording this webinar and we'll be mailing it out to everyone who attended. That way you can share it out to any other families that you might find this interesting to watch. So again, thank you for taking time this evening. I'm going to actually go around and have everyone introduce themselves before we begin a formal presentation. And then we're going to open it up to a Q&A. At any point, you can feel free to begin asking your questions in the chat box on the bottom. I'll be managing that and we'll get to your questions after presentations and such. So without further ado, I'm going to have Josh introduce himself first. And don't forget to unmute yourselves.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Josh Bubar. I'm the assistant head of school at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. This is my 20th year here at the school. I began as the English department chair. I was a dorm parent. I've coached some basketball, both for girls and boys, and some baseball. Lived in a girls and boys dorm. So I've done a little bit of everything during my time there. And I'll be doing a short presentation tonight about some things that are central to our mission.
Great. Thank you, Josh. I'm going to have Caroline from my admissions team introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Caroline Finnemore, and I'm the admissions officer at CHCH. I also graduated in 2013.
Thank you, Caroline. And then I'm going to have our students introduce themselves next. I'll have Gwen go first and then Renee.
Hi, I'm Gwen. I'm from Woburn. I went to Lexington Montessori School before this. I'm a sophomore, and I do cross country in the fall and basketball in the winter.
Great. Thanks, Gwen. Renee?
Hi, I'm Renee. I came from Oak Meadow School. I'm from Groton, Massachusetts. I am a freshman and I do cross country.
Great. Thanks, Renee. And then I'm going to have Laura introduce herself.
Good evening. I'm Laura Stockfish, Renee's mom. Renee attended Oak Meadow since she was 3 years old, so this is a big change for us because we hadn't been to another school since.
Thank you, Laura. And then I'm going to have the Patrices introduce themselves, Meg and Joe.
Hi, I'm Meg Patrici. I'm Gwen's mom. Gwen went to Lexington Montessori, as she said, since I think 3rd grade, Gwen, or 4th grade you started at Montessori from a public school, 4th. Okay. And then moved on to CH, and this is her 2nd year there. And she's been involved in several activities in the Barn Club.
Thank you.
I'm Joe Patrici, Gwen's father. Just to echo what Megan said, we are a Montessori, Lexington Montessori family, 4th and 5th grade for our oldest. And Gwen is moved on up to Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall High School, 2nd year, and cross country and basketball. She enjoys it.
Great, thank you. All right. And welcome, everyone. So I'm going to turn it over to Josh to do his presentation, and then we'll get into the Q&A. And just a reminder, any questions at any point in the chat. Over to you, Josh. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. All right, everybody. I'm going to share my screen with folks, and hopefully I have a couple of videos that we're going to run. I hope those will go over well. I think they will. I tested it a little bit, but I really am looking forward to the question part. So this will take maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll jump into questions. One of the things we like to talk about here at Chapel Hill, we use the acronym CORE, to talk about the work we do with our students, and CORE stands for curriculum, opportunities, relationships, and empathy. And for us, curriculum is a really broad term. We certainly offer a lot of really rigorous, challenging pieces to our curriculum. About 75% of our 12th graders take at least one AP class. But what I think really distinguishes our curriculum is our willingness to do all sorts of different things and to really make sure that the kids are engaged in the making of meaning. We like to use our classroom as a campus. Our campus as a classroom, rather, sorry. We get outside as much as we can, and that was even before the COVID-19 era. And we really make sure that kids get a chance to drive what's going on in the classroom. So I want to share this video with you. This is from our Senate simulation, which is an activity we do with our juniors and seniors every year, where they take on the role of a U.S. Senator.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I move to amend SR 12.
Hi, I'm Ian McPhail. I'm one of the history department faculty here at Chapel Hill, and I'm participating in the Senate simulation today.
In order to prepare students for this simulation, we asked them to put together profiles on actual members of the United States Senate that they were going to pretend to be. After they put together their profiles, they were then asked to debate legislation that they actually created in real life.
We are voting on different bills that many students have made up for themselves as senators, and we are kind of role-playing the two-party systems with Democrats and Republicans, and trying to balance our morals with our party beliefs, and kind of seeing what actual real senators have to do on a daily basis.
My beliefs are mostly Democratic, but I'm portraying a Republican candidate, and I have to really learn his beliefs, and I have to really be that person for a day. So I think that's really challenging, but really fun as well.
For the Jordanian government to handle and are in need of our assistance. How would you feel if you were stuck in such insecure places at long periods of time?
I love it. I love debating and, to be honest, arguing sometimes about these issues. I think it's really important to gain a really thorough understanding of how our government works, how we understand how decisions are made, how laws are passed, how bills are passed. And this is helping everyone, I think, get a great understanding of that.
The Senate, I move to amend SR 12 in a way to help solve another massive problem facing America, which is the opioid crisis.
It's easy to just dismiss someone's views and be like, oh, well, I don't agree, so I'm not even going to spend time thinking about it. But it gives me a chance to think, like, why would someone think this and why would someone believe this, whether it be their upbringing or their state or their party or whatever. Like, there's a lot of contributors.
Why can't we say air pollutants when we want to address climate change? It's a true thing. Air pollutants are true. They happen. I'm going to take away from this experience that even in the Senate, which is something I think is so professional, that there's a lot of compromise and there's a lot of talking amongst the parties. And I thought it was very much black and white, but I've realized that there is work between the aisles, there's work between the parties, and that people do need to come to compromises even in their adult life to get things done.
Say nay. Nay. In the opinion of the chair, the nays have it. We're going to continue talking about 247.
So as you can see there, what we really provide students is an opportunity, lots of different entry points into understanding some complex issues. How do we work together in our society? What are the things that they can take away from this besides a knowledge of how many senators there are? So that's a really important part of what we do curricularly. When we talk about opportunities, that encompasses a lot of different things here at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall as well. One piece that we like to talk about are our co-curricular activities. One of the nice things for us is there's a place for everybody in our co-curricular program. So we offer 3 seasons. We expect our students to participate in all 3 seasons of our co-curriculars, whether that's in athletics or in theater or in some other activity that we offer. And I think the great thing about it is that we have lots and lots of students who come to us with a lot of experience. For example, Gwen, I know, has played a fair amount of basketball in her life. She was able to be an important part of our varsity basketball team right away last year as a 9th grader. But there was also a place in that girls basketball program for 9th graders, 10th graders who hadn't played much, if any, real organized basketball before. The same thing's true in our theater program. We take in lots and lots of students who have had a lot of experience in theater or theater tech. And then we take in a lot of students for whom this is the first time they've ever dipped their toe onto stage. And it's a great experience for everybody. We also have other activities such as rock climbing, newspaper, fitness, that provide students all sorts of different opportunities if in that particular trimester theater or the sports that we offer don't really resonate with them. The other piece of opportunity I want to talk to you about is we express it with a number. So in the last 5 years, we've graduated 224 students. Those 224 students have gone on to 118 different colleges. And that's a tremendous number. That's a tremendous spread of colleges and universities across this country that our students have found compelling and to be exactly the right fit for them. And that's really the most important thing that we want to provide our students. We're a college prep school. 100% of our kids are accepted to college. We do have students who will take a gap year, probably 2 to 3 in any given year, but they will eventually matriculate. And we want to make sure in that college process that they find themselves matriculating to the right school, the school where they can be somebody, the school where they can get engaged with things outside the classroom, because we know that those are the things that make a college experience truly meaningful. We also talk about relationships. One of the really key pieces for me as the assistant head of school is the hiring of faculty and staff. And I will say that for me, finding a faculty member who can develop really positive relationships with adolescents is gold. You know, a PhD, significant content knowledge, that's all valuable stuff for teaching in the high school level. But finding someone who really values adolescents and knows that that relationship they can make where they can be a trusted adult is incredibly important. I have another video for you to take a look at. Kind of talks a little bit about the relationships that we can form with our students over the course of their time here.
Is it okay if we don't keep a letter on? Do you meal like?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna play with that formality a little bit.
Put it back in the Apple TV.
So your affect in the classroom changed. Oh, are you joking?
Hi, it's Natanya. I just wanted to say thank you for all of your help my senior year of high school, helping me write my essays and get in my college application, and then actually helping to get me into college.
It's Nora from class of 2016. I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything you did for me when I was at school and continuing afterwards. You were always there for me, and I really appreciate that.
I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Castillo for always seeing the light in me. He always knew who I was destined to, like, just be great.
You taught me so much over my time at Chapel Hill, and you showed me what learning is all about, and you made school fun for me. And not only that, but you made learning a passion of mine.
And I really value all of the care you put into your work because it makes me more inspired to go forward and help others in the way that you helped your students. And I'm really excited to return to Chapel Hill and say hi finally after months and months of promising to do so and see you and just say thank you in person.
That is incredible.
Well, thank you for doing that.
It should be no surprise after watching that to know that we form lifelong relationships with our students. We have students in the pre-COVID era coming back to campus all the time to visit with their former teachers. And in fact, we have a number of alums who work on campus with us now, including Caroline, who introduced herself earlier, and then Ty DeWitt, who was one of the students in the video, thanking Mr. Castillo. The last letter in our core acronym is empathy. And, you know, in this moment in time, perhaps particularly, we think building empathy, building that sense of others' experiences is incredibly valuable. We drive that in part with our community service program. We have our students are required to do a certain number of hours every year, and then we offer those in more typical years. We offer plenty of weekend activities where day and boarding students can come together, go off on weekend trips and perform community service. But we also weave that pursuit of empathy into our curriculum. One of the things that we do at the end of every year, typically in May, is we hold our spring session, which is a mini course. And many of our mini courses there during the spring session focus on the ideas of empathy. We took a trip to Alabama on a civil rights journey just a year ago. Our fitness journey. And then our Worcester Hall mural project, which really brings our community together to make sure that we can act as one in service of the community. We're also connected with the Making Caring Common project out of Harvard University and their School of Ed, and their mission is to raise kids who care about others and the common good. And you'll hear us talking about that phrase often on campus. Overall, I think CORE really describes what we do and all the different ways we try to connect with our students and our families and make sure that they can be the driving force in their own education and in their own development as young adults who are coming of age in a really difficult moment. Looking forward to taking questions from folks about our program, and thanks so much for taking a few minutes here.
Great, thank you, Josh. All right, so please feel free to start putting your questions in the chat. First question is, I can have the students answer, maybe then the parents. Just curious what other schools you explored and looked at when applying out during your 8th grade year, and ultimately what made you choose CHCH? And I don't know if Gwen or Renee wants to go first.
Yeah, I can go if you want. So other schools I looked at were Lawrence Academy and Worcester Academy. Those are my 2 top schools, along with CHCH, of course. And the thing about CHCH, when I visited their campus, everyone was so friendly, and it was just like a family, and everyone cared. And you can tell the teachers really cared about the students and engaging them in learning, and not just like, this is the information that you have to learn, so you're going to learn it. But they're like, we're going to make this fun and engaging. So that was really the big thing for me about CHCH.
Great. Thank you, Renee. Gwen, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I looked at CSW and Pingree. And when I took a tour on CH, it's similar to Renee, but you get this feeling because everyone's all together. You don't see groups of people all separate groups, They're all together and laughing, having fun. There's no one that's alone. Everyone's in a group or all together, which made me think that's everyone's very friendly and open, And yeah.
And do the parents have anything that they'd like to add?
I would say the culture at CHCH has been most aligned with how we feel about our philosophy of education. It's something we value, and that's what we put first as education. It's not something that we are entitled to as the Stockfish family. It's not a legacy for us. We just really wanted to make an investment for Renee in a good school that valued education. We felt most aligned at CHCH with the culture there.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. Meg or Joe, do you want to add anything, or are you trying to?
Can you hear me? Yeah, for us, Patrici's, the journey was long. It's a significant investment, not just financially, time, and it encompassed all of us. We actually considered it for our oldest, boiling down to 9 schools. Gwen's older sister ended up choosing public school. She just wanted that experience. So she's actually a 6th generation Woburn.
Yeah.
Her mom's a teacher, assistant vice principal in Woburn. And so Emma just really was core for community. Where Gwen wanted to continue a style of learning that was not boutique, but I'd say more tailored to her values. and they obviously need to resonate with the family. What boiled down this decision was not easy. Megan and I, and even Gwen, we had difference of opinions between a number of different schools. There were 9 that we were visiting over the course of 2+ years, and multiple vacation days I took out of work to really dive in. What we unanimously agreed upon was, yes, the culture. Commute is tough for all of us. This is all pre-COVID, but it was the teachers. It was Josh, Suzanne, Carolyn. It was literally everyone that we met time and time and time again, as well as students and alum, we felt just resonated with core values that our family also believed in. So despite the look, the appearance, the certain athletic appeal, gorgeous landscaping, food, whatever, even down to the chef, the cooking crew, okay, which I'm there a lot, okay, I just felt we're so in line with our values. And I always suggest you have to invest in something that makes sense for you as a family, the way you operate, the things that you believe in. And so one size really doesn't fit all, but I would have to say, for my personal opinion, and this into the other aspects of our family, I personally felt that the teachers, the staff, administration, students, cooking team, everyone just hit a home run with me. And there was not one qualm with Emma, my oldest, who was also accepted at the school, Gwen, jazzed to go, and Megan, an administrator in a very diverse, large public school. So there's a lot of factors I would suggest to someone looking at schools, but you really have to boil down to every one of those factors that I mentioned. They've got to sit well with you as parents or single parent, student, and sibling, because it's a family event. And that resonates into all 4 walls of this Petrucci house. So very, very pleased with our decision. Looking forward to 2 great more years with Gwen attending.
Great, thank you. Meg, do you have anything to add? You don't have to, but just wanted.
No, I just wanted to add one thing that was pretty special about CH that I liked, and that is coming in very handy right now, the small classes. So Gwen knew herself that she functioned better and learned better in a small community in her classroom. So that's what CH is. I mean, CH, I think the largest class I saw when I went through open house was 12. I'm not even sure if that was that high. But now we transitioned to, from in-person to all remote last spring because of the pandemic. And she didn't miss a beat. She went right into that online learning, and she was actively engaged all the time, and she was working hard, like real hard. It was great to see. Then we move into September, and we've all been this, as Joe says, the 4 walls of the Petrucci household. And they seem to have gotten smaller because of the pandemic. We've lovely time together. We love it, but exactly, we're in 3 rooms right now, separate. But just know that, she's in 5 days full time. I mean, you can't buy that in Massachusetts right now. And not only that, I feel like she's safe and she's moving forward with her education. So that's my little tidbit. We're really happy at CH.
Thank you. And for the students, did you feel like it was a big transition coming from a Montessori school into CHCH? Did you feel like the transition went well, or anything that was challenging for you? Anything you want to share with the students?
Honestly, the transition was so easy. Like, I've been at Oak Meadow my whole life. And then when I came to CH, it was like a huge step for me. But like right from the minute that I got on campus, like when I was still in my car and like we were talking to people out the window, everyone was so friendly and helpful, and you knew that they wanted to help you and make you succeed. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Gwen, did you feel like you had an easy transition, or did you feel like some parts of it were challenging for you?
Yeah, I was gonna say it was pretty easy for me. I think that what's helpful is the teachers help make it easier with it's a pretty slow slow flow into the start of the year, I think, with activities, and I knew by in the first 2 weeks, I think I knew everyone's name in my grade and other names. So it shows that like the teachers make it easier and like it's helpful.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then one parent asked just kind of the class schedule and structure. I'm going to ask Josh maybe to share your screen if you wouldn't mind.
Yep. Hold on one second.
Just to kind of explain our unique schedule, because I think that's a little bit different too, coming from a Montessori school.
Yep. Oh, I went the other. Sorry, I got to go. I got to go the other way here. Is that working, Lisa?
Yes. Yep. I can see it.
Do you want me to talk? Do you want to talk about it? You want me to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. Do you want to just explain how the class schedule works and kind of the thinking behind that and office hours and
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is a typical schedule for us. Our classes meet 3 times a week for 75 minutes each block. And you can see it rotates through the days and different times of the day. So A block, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or D block, late on a Monday, mid-morning on a Wednesday, and first thing on a Friday morning. And so we find that that works for us in a couple of different ways. One is that those 75-minute blocks really give teachers an opportunity to dig into the skills and the content of their classes in a lot of different ways, and in ways that are typically pretty active. I think a lot of schools that are stuck in a 45 or a 50-minute block schedule find it's just, teachers spitting out information, rushing through stuff, and then they just got to go because the day is moving on. Whereas when you have 75 minutes, you have to create opportunities for students to get their hands dirty, sometimes literally with the material that you're teaching and what you're hoping that they're going to learn about and kind of create their own understanding about. We also build in a lot of support time for students. There was a question about that in the chat. And so that'll happen here in office hours. That's 4 times a week. And so all of our teachers are available during those blocks. Students can either make appointments, but for our 9th and 10th grade students, they typically are scheduled into certain places for office hours. Teachers are there. Typically, there'll be a handful of students, 4, 5, 6 students there. So teachers can really dig back in with students, either to cover something that they didn't quite get a hold of in the first time around, or have an opportunity to help them study for an upcoming quiz, or help them polish up an essay or a presentation, anything like that. We also have a skills and academic support program that roughly 80 to 90% of our 9th graders take part in, and that's a scheduled class. So you might have your SAS, skills and academic support class, might run e-blocks Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and again on Fridays. And you're there with 4 students and 1 teacher. And particularly in 9th and 10th grade, the focus there is kind of twofold. Number one, it's focused directly on specific discrete academic skills. And those skills are tied to what's going on in that time period in the grade level that you're in. So if the 9th grade is working on a history project and there's a research component in that SAS class, they're going to be helping you develop those research skills in order to successfully accomplish the project. It's also designed to allow students to develop their own individual executive function skills. So there's time there for one-on-one work with the teacher to plan your week, plan your day, plan your week, maybe plan even further out if that's something you need to do or something you're ready for, and then allow them to check back with you later on in the week to see how the plan progressed and replan if you need to. Lisa, did you ask me to cover something else? Did I leave something out?
Sorry. And maybe just advisory and the weekly progress reports.
Oh, yeah. So you'll see here, advisory happens typically on Tuesdays. This is a 5-day week. We'll occasionally have 4-day weeks like we had a couple of weeks ago when one of the Jewish holidays fell on a weekday. But on a 5-day week, we'll have advisory on Tuesdays, and that's an opportunity for students to get together with their academic advisor, and that's typically a group of anywhere between 4 and 6 students, and to take a look at their weekly progress notes. Typically every week, students will get a short note from each one of their teachers outlining their progress for the week. And so that will talk about, hey, this went really well in class, or you seemed really on top of this particular reading or this particular problem set. It might also note, hey, I think it seemed like you were a little bit, maybe didn't quite get this. Let's make sure you come to office hours Thursday or Friday so we can catch up about it and give you kind of the time you need to catch up on that. Those progress notes are written for the student and shared with students on Tuesday mornings, and then they're shared with parents on Wednesday morning. And part of what we're trying to do with that is allow the students to problem solve with the adults here on campus as they need to on their own if there's any problems that come up in those progress notes. And then the parents can take a look at them, see how their son or daughter, their child's doing. And then if there is an issue, their child can come back and say, oh yeah, that came up. You know, I talked to my advisor about it. I talked to my math teacher about it. We're all set. We really want to develop those self-advocacy skills in our students as young as we can. And so that's a big piece of what we do.
Great, thank you, Josh. All right. And just one of the questions, they saw clubs on the schedule as well. Gwen or Renee, do you participate in any of the student clubs, and how do you all feel about like having those opportunities?
Yeah, I joined Barn Club last year in the beginning of the year. I think it's a great way to I know I met a ton of people from joining a club, especially freshman year when you don't know anyone. And I think it's a great way to meet other people. It's not in your grade, because I know that freshman year I didn't have many classes with people that are older than me, and a club was a great way to find people that are not just in your grade.
And the barn is actually our new arts facility. So our campus is very old, from the 1800s, and the Arts Center used to actually be a barn back in the day. But we renovated the entire space and added a bunch of square footage to it. And so we have brand new visual and performing arts space, which is incredible, both for the after school program, putting on performances each trimester, including a musical in the winter, and also the visual arts classes that we offer. But also many classroom content area teachers do make use of that space in our maker space and maker network too. So yeah, so that's awesome that the students kind of, all these clubs are student led as well, which is amazing. So I would say there's a ton of opportunity for leadership experiences as well. Renee, have you as a freshman kind of dabbled in clubs at all yet, or?
Yeah, so I joined the Cavalry Club, which is the tour and admissions club at CHCH. And then I've also gone and visited the Arts Club and the UNICEF Club, just to kind of see what they're about. Yeah. Great,
good. All right. And then as far as the weekly progress reports, parents want to know, do you feel like you as parents find that that's helpful, or is it good amount of communication, any feedback on the weekly progress reports?
I love the weekly progress reports as a parent, obviously. It's a good way to check in, because as your teenager gets more, independent as they get older, they may not check in with you with their homework, but each teacher actually writes a little paragraph or a narrative that's personalized and where your student's at, where they need to be. So to me, that's really refreshing. As a parent, you still connected with your student, even though they have their independence. So.
Laura, do you have anything you want to?
I was just going to say that Oak Meadow is a very small school, like CHCH, but coming from the elementary model, I didn't know what to expect, but we've been very pleased with the amount of communication that has come from CHCH about Renee's progress, what's happening in the class, and all sorts of things, especially with COVID right now.
And then another question, just do you find students so Gwen, that was a nice comment that you made, that everyone's friends with one another, it just doesn't matter what grade you're in. But we do have the day and the boarding component. So we are 180 students total. And on a typical year, not COVID year, we're about 60% day and 40% boarding. But with the co-curricular program, that is with all students participating in those activities, even day students, and Joe, as a parent, can stay for dinner, grab a bite to eat if they want to. So they are here for a good amount of the day and can participate in study hall. So Renee, I know it's fairly new for you this year, and unfortunately we haven't brought our boarding students back to campus yet. But Gwen, did you feel like you were friends with some of the boarders? Did you feel like there was a big divide there, or did you participate in any of the weekend activities as a day student?
Yeah, so I think the connection between boarding student and day student is pretty close, because you still have classes with some of them, and but like after school, I know I would stay for dinner most nights when my parents couldn't pick me up at a certain time, and which really helps you connect with like all the boarding students because that's like their source is their dinner there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big part. But also weekend activities. Really, I didn't go to a lot, but I went to like Target with the boarders,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I think there's a pretty good connection between them, but yeah.
I want to piggyback on Gwen. We used to joke a lot because we called Gwen the boarder without a bed because
Yeah.
she enjoyed being on campus so much. I was like, Gwen, I'll come get you at 4:30. Oh, no, Mom. We're going, have dinner, and then we're all going to Target. I'm like, you don't need bedding. You don't live there. But she thoroughly enjoyed the boarding atmosphere and had that taste, had that part of school to be a part of, which was really awesome. And there really wasn't a divide there. So, yeah, the Gwen the boarder without a bed.
Yep.
Yeah, and then also, so obviously I haven't been able to experience the boarding and day students, but there isn't really a divide at CHCH between like the different grade levels, because like I know I'm friends with sophomores, juniors, and seniors already, and I've been there for a month.
Yep.
So that's another great thing about CHCH. They don't really like separate by grade. Everyone's just like, I don't know, we're all friends. So.
Great, good. And the next question's about homework. Did you feel like there's a lot of homework compared to coming from the Montessori school? Do you feel like that was a big difference for you, or do you feel like manageable?
I think the homework at CH is very, very manageable because we have time to do it at school. And then your teachers set you up for success. They're not like, oh yeah, we talked about this at the last 5 minutes of school, so don't try to figure it out. They just want you to reinforce what you know and what you learned at school. And then I ride horses outside of school, and I do a sport, and I have homework.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so manageable at CH. Like if you need an extension on your homework, they'll give you one. They're not like, why didn't you get it done, and get mad at you. They're like, oh yeah, that's understandable. We all have stuff going on in our lives, especially in this day and age.
Mm-hmm. And Gwen, how about you, especially now that you've been there for a complete year?
I thought it was pretty manageable first coming in. Something that helps a lot is one, SAS. I've never taken SAS, but everyone who I've talked to that does, that's probably like one of their main places where they do homework and like get help for it, because SAS is like it's like a smaller class that has a teacher that helps you with all of your homework, not like one specific subject. And they usually like teach a lesson in the beginning, either like on note taking or other topics like that. And then that and office hours. Office hours is like a time where you can go to like any teacher and get help from them specifically if you need it. So that's something that I've used a lot, to go to teachers and get specific help from.
Great, thank you. Another question has to do with our athletic program. They just want to know how good the sports teams are. And Josh, do you want to explain kind of the leagues we're in? And
yeah, I can give an overview, sure. So on the girls' side, we belong to a league called the IGC, the Independent Girls Conference. And that includes schools like Brimmer and May, Landmark up on the North Shore, and Waring up in Beverly, Montrose, Gann Academy right in Waltham, right near us. And so that's the league we compete in just about everything. We are an EIL volleyball team, but for everything else we compete in the IGC. And so we offer volleyball and cross country for girls in the fall, basketball and wrestling in the winter, and then softball, girls lacrosse, and ultimate frisbee in the spring. And then for the boys, we compete in the MBIL, the Mass Bay Independent League, and that's again many of the same schools. So Brimmer and May is in that conference, and Gann and Waring, Commonwealth School and Newman, which are both in the city, among others. And for boys, we offer cross country and soccer. Oh, I left girls soccer out, didn't I? We offer girls soccer. And we offer cross country and soccer in the fall, basketball, wrestling in the winter, and baseball as a co-op team with CSW, and then also boys lacrosse and ultimate frisbee in the spring. And I saw the question, we have had a fair amount of championship success. I wouldn't say that's how we define success at Chapel Hill, but we have had some teams that have won a lot of championships. Yes, I think the girls, Gwen, you guys won last year, right? And the boys basketball team won last year, and lacrosse won the year before that. Cross country's been on a little bit of a streak. Our wrestling team has been very successful and sent kids on to the nationals in the last 3 to 4 years. So yeah, we've had a fair amount of success.
Thank you. This question's for the students. What advice would you give to an 8th grader right now going through the admissions process?
So going through the admissions process, I would say don't be afraid to talk to the your interviewer, the people who are interviewing you, because they want to learn about you. And then one thing that when I was looking at schools, a lot of high schools that I was looking at had 75-minute classes, and I was like, oh, that seems like a really long time. I might get bored. And then I came to CHCH, and the classes seemed to go by a lot faster than my 75-minute class or my 45-minute classes did at my old school. So, I mean, that was just something that was like very daunting. Like that was kind of one of the things I didn't like as much about the school, and now it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, that's great advice. Gwen, do you have any advice you'd want to share?
To add on to Renee, like on your tour, don't be afraid to like ask questions, because that's like one of the like biggest parts of like learning campus and learning what's going on. Because the student who's giving a tour is always going to be open to answer questions, and it's always better in person than rather over email and stuff. So definitely ask questions and don't be afraid.
Great, good advice. And from a parent perspective, any advice that you'd want to share with families kind of going through this process, especially now? I know it's even more stressful with COVID happening, and I'll explain our admissions process and opportunities at the end of this, but do parents just want to share anything?
I would say start early. It doesn't need to be stressful and all rush towards the deadline at the end. Start early, and just like Gwen's family expressed, know your options so you feel comfortable when you get to the point of submitting the application. Renee only submitted a few applications, and I think that was less stressful for her because she really dedicated herself to the application process and making sure that she was writing to the school that she was applying to. So she wanted them to know her, and she wanted it to be a good fit. So I'd say start early and just be honest about who you are as you go through the process.
Great, thank you, Laura. Joe, did you have anything to add?
I would say don't be afraid to think outside the box as a parent. One of the things I've realized is, the schools, they'll provide a pretty organized, thorough structure for the interview process, because it's a two-way street, right? They're interviewing you as a family and your child as you are for your investment in your child's education, safety, really social aspect, which is huge, as Gwen alluded to. So what I found was, don't be afraid to ask for those. They're not even accommodations. Can I meet with the director of art, right? And I did. Can I talk to some of the guidance counselors, not just one? And I did. That was really great. So there are aspects that you really have to dive into to make that holistic decision that might be something that isn't standard inside the application process, but every single person I've communicated with before Gwen accepted the journey was accommodating and made the time. Now it's going to be virtual, obviously, but if you have a unique learning style that your child is privy to, if you have a sport that may be new, we witnessed some activities in school that were new that we had questions about, and they said, listen, we'd love to have Gwen come aboard, and she could be an ambassador to that. We really need student leaders who help take that sport, that activity to whole new levels. So that was really empowering as a parent to say, this is not just the standard. There is room for you to be involved and create a group, a curriculum, a culture, a sport, and activity that really gets to outline the next wave of students to come aboard and make their changes. So be creative, think outside the box, and ask for those one-off meetings because they're going to help you make a better decision.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And I always, I've been at Chapel Hill, I'm beginning my 19th year. So I've worked with Josh for many, many years. Used to live on campus as a dorm parent and coach as well. And, I think I always give that advice. Just, you're interviewing us as much as we're interviewing you. It's about best fit at the end of the day. And it's a big investment, not only financially, but emotionally. And this is something you're going to want to choose for the next 4 years. And so ask those questions. And we are fortunate enough to be back to campus. So while we are on campus, we as an admissions office are invested in providing different options for you to learn more about CHCH. So we are currently conducting on-campus tours and interviews if families are comfortable. We are spacing out families just one at a time and safely distanced with masks, obviously. And we do have some students whose families have given them permission to tour families. So that way you get to still have that experience of meeting a student and talking authentically with them and asking them questions one-on-one as they show you around campus. We do book those Monday through Friday during the academic day. And so that way we can, really have you experience and see campus when it's in session and there are students and faculty there. Yeah, Josh, if you want to, I can add a slide for that.
I'll get it right now.
Talk about that, yeah. Yeah, so again, so these are a couple different things. So we've really had to reimagine our jobs here, and having been here for so long, never thought, hey, we can just kind of keep going like we are, but this has really challenged us to really think differently about our approach. So for families who aren't comfortable with coming to campus, we're also doing a virtual tour with a student tour guide who will go through a slideshow with you and still speak to their experiences about CHCH, and then we can do the interview that way. So there's a lot of different options that we can provide to you. So open houses. So typically we have 2 fall open houses with over 100 families visiting, which obviously we're not able to do. So if you are bored of Zoom and sitting on your couch and as a family or something on a Sunday afternoon want to get out of your house and take a drive to Waltham, Massachusetts, we're actually doing a drive-through open house on October 18th. We did add one additional one on November 8th, but anytime between 1 and 3, you can arrive on campus, and we'll have some teachers and staff there, as well as some students to welcome you. And everything's going to occur from your car. There'll be a sheet that you get with the tour route, and then we'll have QR codes for you to scan at each stop, and then there'll be a video from either a teacher or a student welcoming you to that space and to talk and highlight about specific programs, and there'll be video of what happens inside that building. So that's another cool way just to kind of, get off of Zoom and learn more about a school. And then on November 1st, we'll do our formal open house virtually with more presentations and Q&As and such. So some really exciting things that we're doing. Matt put in the chat box the information there. So we do ask if people can register ahead of time. That would be great. So, and then as far as the admissions process, we are February 1st deadline school, and we do accept the common application or do have our own application. Either is fine. We do require an interview. You do not have to submit your application before the interview. So don't, stress over that. I do work closely with all of the placement folks at the Montessori School, so you're in very good hands with them as far as them getting me your teacher recommendations that are required, as well as transcripts and such. I do want to mention that this year the SSAT is optional because of COVID-19 and the challenges that they're facing. So it is optional, but sometimes our families are coming to us having done some educational testing, such as a neuropsych report. As Josh mentioned earlier, we do have some students in our skills and academic support program who might need some help with executive function skills and such. So if you do have a neuropsych report, we actually prefer that over the SSAT, as long as it's within 3 years old. And if you have any questions about any of this, I'm happy to walk you through that. So, and on March 10th is when we offer decisions to families, and then we have a revisit day before families need to make up their choice. We do have Josh, if you want to go on one more slide, I think there's the financial aid. This is a lot of information. You don't have to study this. It's all on our website. But I do want to make families aware that we talked about the investment financially for families and affordability. We do have need-based financial aid. And on our website, there are all this information and the link to SSS. And Susie is our Director of Financial Aid, and she's fabulous to work with and can set up a one-on-one meeting if you have any questions about that. We also have a number of different scholarship opportunities that you don't have to apply to just the Waltham one. But there are different things that we're looking for as we're adding to our community, because we are such a small school. We want to really make sure that we're admitting students who are really bringing something to our community, whether it's leadership, academic promise, athletic ability, artistic students, students who are interested in living in the boarding community and adding to that. So we would identify students throughout the admissions process and the application process. And some families receive anywhere from $5,000 to a $15,000 scholarship each of the 4 years that they're here. So I just wanted to mention this, and again, happy to answer any questions about this, because tuitions are daunting and quite expensive these days, but we want to try to make this accessible to as many students as we possibly can. So thank you, Josh, for sharing that screen. We did have one other question. Are there any opportunities to dance, or Josh, if you want to also talk about the independent study option for the co-curricular?
Sure. So we do not have a formal dance program, nor do we offer any dance classes currently in our curriculum. We do offer the musical, I think, as Lisa mentioned, which has a significant amount of choreography in it, and a number of our students who have come to us with interest in dance have performed in those shows over the course of their career at Chapel Hill. We also offer students the opportunity to do an independent study for 1 or potentially 2 of their trimesters at Chapel Hill during the co-curricular period. So that would be if there was a student who had a significant interest in something that we didn't offer, they could then, rather than participate in something on campus, they could go off campus and participate in that. We typically ask for the time commitment for that to be similar to the time commitment that students that are staying on campus are making. So that's 4 to 5 days a week with an hour to an hour and a half a day of commitment. Certainly some students do much more than that, depending on what it is that they have for an independent study commitment. And essentially for students to do that twice a year, we're simply looking for something that's kind of an extensive history of a commitment to that. So we, for example, we currently have a young woman who's a scholarship level gymnast, who's been a gymnast, I feel like, since she waddled out of the crib. And so she's been doing that for two trimesters a year as she pursues that piece of her life. We've had an Olympic caliber figure skater in the past. We've had folks who've done horseback riding. So that's definitely an option for families and students.
Great, thank you. All right, I think we've covered all of the questions that came into the chat. Anything else any of the parents, students want to add? Or I know we've covered a lot and appreciate that. So, all right, good. Well, thank you everyone for participating. Again, we'll send a recording of this webinar to you and to the folks over at the Montessori schools to share out to families as well. Thank you to Josh for your presentation, and to the Stockfish family and Patrice's and Caroline. Caroline does all the tour guide program and scheduling. So if you have any questions about booking an appointment, Caroline can certainly assist you with that. And any other questions for me, happy to answer that. So thank you everyone for joining. Make sure you check out our admissions events page and sign up for those opportunities. And again, thank you to our panelists for really doing a fabulous job as always, answering questions. So thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, bye.